to the 6, we be in the mix. With that rare candy paint job on the whip. I need food for the kids, money for the rent. Fuck a lockdown, baby, I can't do that shit. And I don't never vote, cause I'm fucking broke. And either way, I know the police ain't gon' leave me alone. On a plane by to visit Glen Rock. Need crypto, told me I should bring the Glock with me. So I packed up my piece and I'm sliding. Cause we might get caught up in a riot. Middle finger Trump, middle finger Biden. Fuck a left, fuck a right, is you riding? Know you love to see it, dudes rocking. Ain't no politics, baby, we just talking. From the birds to the bricks, we be in the mix. With that rare candy paint job on the whip, who you with?
Welcome back to the Gain of Fiction Lab. We are continuing a series from last season. This is the Bret, Easton, Ellis catalog deep dive. He doesn't have that many books, so it's not that hard to do. In fact, I think we're like halfway done with it already, which is kind of crazy. So far, we've covered the Shards, Less Than Zero, and Rules of Attraction on here. So we're already almost there because now we're covering American Psycho. I have the author of Texas Tea, which is he's teasing it with a really cool cover on social media right now, but it's Kelby Losack. How you doing?
What's good? What it do? Yeah, Texas Tea, I think dropping November 5th.
Yeah, and it's not Texas Low Tea, it's Texas High Tea.
That's it.
Yeah, just not to confuse anybody here, because some people might think tea levels. No, it is spelled TEA. The title. Explain the title to me.
So it's got kind of a double meaning. This is my most soap operatic, epic, sprawling, but I mean, for me, epic. A lot of people are like, damn, this is like 500 pages condensed into 100. So this one's going to be like 1,000 pages condensed into 300 or 400. Like
I was going to guess 300. I was going to
novel.
guess you were writing a 300 pager.
Yeah. So yeah, not a God's Fair No Better brick, not yet. but it's a big odyssey. So like tea, as all of our gay friends like to call drama. But Texas tea is slang for purple drink.
Right.
That's like a newer slang for drink that I think is genius.
That's pretty good.
So a lot of the book revolves around a walk heart smuggling. So there's kind of the double meaning there.
Well, that's great. I mean, I don't know what your release plan is for it, but I know you got to be close to done with it, right?
Yeah, it's so it's like I'm very schizophrenic in the way that I write. There's 69 chapters, all of which have some level of writing in them, and I know the story and everything. I actually outlined this one, and I just keep chipping away at different chapters until the whole thing ends up done. Probably halfway through it.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, guys, be on the lookout for that. And while you're at it, if you're like, wow, I really want to read that, you can read a lot of Kelby's other work. You reissued Letting Out the Devils with a new cover on it and stuff. You have God is Wearing Black. You have Mercy. I know you have more than that, but those are, I know the three I see people posting the most and reading a lot. And I've had the chance to read Letting Out the Devils and God is Wearing Black. Both of those are great. I've yet to read Mercy, but that'll be really cool. And also you can listen to me read Chicken and Waffles, which a lot of people really liked and I really enjoyed. So
I loved that. That shit went so hard.
It was fun. It was really fun, man. That one is really special because it was the start of a project. And like I said, that's free. You guys can that's on the Rare Candy YouTube channel. You guys can just go check that out. So if you guys are still like, man, what am I just gonna pick up some book or something? Well, okay. Yes, the answer is yes to that. But if you're being a little prick about it, just go ahead and listen to that first, and then you'll get to know the author I'm talking to right now. So we've like I said, we've covered Bret Easton Ellis novels since the start of this program, and I was always, I'm not gonna lie, I was dreading this one. The reason I'm dreading it is because there's an overexposure of American Psycho stuff that's happened since I got on the internet. Everything is American Psycho. Everything's Patrick Bateman. There's gifs everywhere. Everyone thinks they're him. Everybody everything. So I was kind of like, and I love the movie. I've been watching the movie because I had HBO as a kid, and I was like on that as a kid, and I remember watching it when I was 9 and not getting any of the irony, but thinking it was awesome.
Right.
And you're just like, that's sick. He killed girls with chainsaws. That's fucking tight.
It's
And
it's hilarious that he's up there, like, as a meme, he's up there with, basically the Ryan Gosling
Don Draper,
dudes,
yeah,
the Blade Runner and Drive and, uh, the whole group of tortured incels or
that's
whatever
true.
it is that the right wing loves to, pretend is oh so me.
Mhm.
And it's hilarious because Patrick Bateman's a fucking dork. It's like Drive, like the dude in Drive,
Mhm.
he's a good dude,
Yeah. Oh, of
you
course.
know? Blade
Yeah.
Runner 2049, he's a good dude.
Mhm.
Batman, he's he might be a good dude.
Mhm.
Uh, Patrick Bateman? Like, what a loser.
Yeah, I mean, he is the ultimate. Now, I think he is a good thing for online culture because it's a LARP ultimately,
Oh,
right?
for sure. Yeah.
Like, so I think he is the perfect guy for the internet because the internet, especially when you like, for anyone who doesn't know, for anyone who's just like typing in American Psycho, I want to listen to something about American Psycho, and you're not maybe from this sphere, but there's a lot of people who are anonymous on the internet and therefore are able to cultivate a new personality, kind of do a factory reset on their past and kind of just give their thoughts with like an aesthetic, which is typically, like you said, Ryan Gosling beat up from Blade Runner, the beat up look about him, the Drive character, and then like Patrick Bateman. It would be all these vaporwave edits, especially because the music is very 80s,
Mhm.
very 80s synth pop, synth driven pop, I should say, in the 80s. So there's constant, aesthetic similarities that people try to achieve with Patrick Bateman. But, spoiler alert, he is living out a sociopathic fantasy in his head. And the only thing lamer than being a sociopath that really can't feel any pain or anything is pretending that that's you. Pretending that that's you.
Right.
And I mean, arguably, I guess you'd prefer guys not to kill a bunch of people, but like it is ultra embarrassing to just be like, actually, what I am is actually, I'm just showing my sentience as the narrator, but I'm just as vapid as any of these people that I'm making fun of that I can't listen to, that I'm thinking about, doing Ted Bundy stuff to while I'm listening to these people. I'm the exact same way, unfortunately. Like that's what you're
Right.
saying.
He's instead of the leftist ordering DoorDash and tweeting "Free Palestine," he's the anonymous rightoid
Hmm.
ordering DoorDash and
Hmm.
daydreaming that he kills the DoorDasher who shows up.
Right, right. It's an Indian guy, which again, they are making a
Yeah.
new American Psycho, and there's so many things you can do with that. Like they're making a new one. I think it's Luca Guadagnino, which I am excited for. I think it's due. I just hope to God it's not in the 80s. I'm so tired of 80s flashback movies, and I
Set
think
it in the 2000s.
set it now. Do it with Brian Johnson type people. Do it with like not like a Brian Johnson type, but like a person who works engineer coding, something fake, right? Something like where it's
Mm.
like I work here but I don't do anything, maybe my dad owns the company or something, but the health scenes can be like red light therapy mask and all of these things. And the beauty of this book is, as repellent as you think Patrick Bateman is and how like lame he is, you if during his moments, during his delusions, you're kind of like fucking with him a little bit. You're kind of like, oh
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
fuck that guy. So like for me, for somebody who does a lot, who likes a lot of that esoteric health stuff, but also finds the people annoying, that's a good way to center this around. I hope that's what they're doing. I think it's Austin Butler, if I'm not mistaken, that's playing Bateman, but I'm hoping it's not just 80s suits and skyscrapers. I really hope it's not that.
Yeah, same. That's a really great casting choice too. I
I agree.
forgot who they were first teasing, but it was,
I
wasn't
think it
that
was a
like
Lordy.
Skarsgård
I thought it
dude?
was Jacob Elordi at first.
Oh,
Those
that's
are the
right.
only two guys that are like not like gay looking, that are like masculine, So like it's an easy casting call.
That would have been, yeah. I think it was either, I remember us talking about it. I don't remember if it was me or if it was my wife who was like Jacob Elordi should play Patrick Bateman.
I could see, yeah.
But
Mhm.
Christian Bale, like now he's such a superstar that you think, wait, why would somebody who nobody remembers and is so
Mm-hmm.
passable, why would you get Christian Bale to play that dude? But while I rewatched it again, I got a chance
Mm-hmm.
to sneak it in again.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, this was fucking great.
It's so good. I mean, you think about everybody. It's like Reese Witherspoon. It's right before Legally Blonde when she became a massive superstar.
Mm,
Jared Leto's like Requiem for a Dream. He's not really doing anything that's like crazy big, but like he's respected in the community and stuff. You have, I forget the actor that plays Carruthers. He's in like Beetlejuice and all of these other things. And it's like, it's a big cast, but it's like a big cast before they all became super big. And it's directed by Mary Herron. It is fantastic, and it does a good job. It does about as good of a job as you can while still maintaining an R rating. Because as we're going to talk about in the book, there is some wild shit that happens in this
yeah.
book that you cannot put in a movie.
Not unless you're like Japanese.
Right.
It,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
couldn't it wouldn't pass Hollywood.
Yeah, exactly. Because then it would just become pornography. It was Japanese. Like they'd be like, "Wait, this is hot."
Yeah, this is great.
They're like, "I don't
Oh,
irony. This is hot." Yeah.
I'm hungry.
Yeah, it would just be squid instead of rats. Yeah, interesting. Yeah. We're going to get you right back to the episode, but I just wanted to let you guys know of a few other things we offer at Rare Candy Industries. We have a Substack with free and paid subscription options. Free subscribers get access to all written content. That includes Bob's Red Pill. That's the best thing going on the internet right now. Trust me. Paid subscribers get full access to our premium episode feed. And that's just every episode we don't necessarily want to share with the general public, if you know what I'm saying. Again, that's rarecandy.substack.com. We also have merch. That link's a little long for me to say right now, but go to the description, go to our merch store, and find a shirt that's right for you. We have Rare Candy shirts, Dr. Bronner soap label shirts, Rishi mushroom shirts, all types of stuff there. Check it out. There's got to be something for you. And lastly, check us out on social media. On Instagram, we're Rare Candy Pod, but on Twitter, we're at Rare Candy Pod 1. All right, enough of that. Let's get you back into the episode. So yeah, this book is interesting. I've listened, Bret Easton Ellis has a great podcast, and he's talked about this a few times because it's a book he often gets questions about, because when you read it, you're just like, damn, dude, like, I didn't know you had this in you. But the thing is you kind of do know that he has it in him. All his other books, he kind of alludes to this thing. In Less Than Zero, there's a very detached explanation of a young girl getting tortured and raped, and stuff, which again, he goes into far more detail in this novel because he gives you so methodical. Patrick Bateman's so methodical and detail oriented, whereas in Less Than Zero, it's the lack of details that gets so chilling sometimes. I'm sorry, you were going to.
Less Than Zero is a much more disturbing book, I think. I think American Psycho is hilarious and really
right.
Like the descriptions, the long paragraphs describing exactly how like the intestines are laid out on the table and the tits, the color of the tits that have been chopped off and all this and that, like those are really beautifully written sentences.
Well, and he had his editor on one time. Bret had his editor on one time. I forget what the guy's name is, but he's a really good interview. And he was basically just like, dude, when I got this manuscript, I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Because he's like, I don't want to like, there's certain things that I think maybe in a traditional sense don't work, but he's like, but it's a Psycho. So like, I kind of have to keep in some things that don't work. Cause there are certain times where he just loses his thought and just starts going back to like, that Robert Onika picture is hanging wrong or something, and then like it's in the middle of a sentence where he's talking about like fucking a decapitated head, like and putting a rat in a tube up a girl's pussy.
It worked, and there's such run-on sentences too, like from the jump. The opening bar, like the whole Broken River crew, we're always like we're big on competing with each other's opening bars.
Of course.
The opening bar of American Psycho is like 100 words. It goes on and on and on before the first period in the book.
I know, that's so funny. Yeah, the opening one is abandon all hope ye who enter here is scrawled in blood red lettering on the side of the chemical bank near the corner of 11th and First, and is in print large enough to be seen from the back seat of the cab as it lurches forward in traffic, leaving Wall Street. And just as Timothy Price notices the words, a bus pulls up. There's like no commas in this or anything. It's just, and then there's like a whole nother part of that sentence. But it's funny because the subject, like the way he speaks, never changes in this. It never changes. The inflections, the tone doesn't really change. It's the subject matter that does. At the beginning, Patrick Bateman's like woke for the first 3 chapters. Like he's just like, cool with the anti-Semitic remarks. He's talking about, he does that speech at dinner with the loser art couple. And he's like, oh, this and that, and he's really worried about preserving this optics, this appearance of a progressive finance guy, which doesn't even work. Like it's like, so you're trying to like achieve this thing that doesn't even work. And Bret Easton Ellis talked about dating a guy like when he moved to New York, which I would guess after college, after Bennington, he moved to New York and he was working on this book, and it took him a long time because he's always been fascinated by serial killers. Growing up in LA in the early 70s, post Manson, you're always going to be obsessed with that kind of stuff. But he found a way to be like, when he was dating this finance bro guy who at the time he's like, they're gay guys. And they're talking to like straight men who are worried about like their lapels and like, face creams and all this stuff. And he's like, dude, I like the gay guys I hang out with aren't this gay. And they contrast it because they're all super homophobic. Like they're all like, anytime anything remotely gay happens, they're just dropping F-bombs in there and all of that. But these guys are straight up worried about fat. Like every conversation they have when they meet up is about whether you're allowed to wear suspenders with this or during what time of year. That it's so funny.
It's always like the world of straight guys is always the inverse when it comes to homophobia of what you would think. Like you got the super gay, put together, aesthetics obsessed homophobes,
right?
And then you have like dudes who are just in the trenches, like picking their nose and like farting, working, like literally digging ditches and shit, and they're always like,
yeah,
hey, bend over, sexy. Like,
yeah, why are you wearing those jeans? Why are you wearing those jeans, man? Those don't. Come on, give me something to look at. Like they'll be saying shit like that.
Yeah,
it's funny. I know, that's so funny. And hovering around all of that, you get like all the time. I love that Bret Easton Ellis is like homosexuality is all throughout this book too. Like the AIDS, all of the AIDS stuff that's in there, where a bunch of guys are worried about it, but like at the same time they're all going, we're not getting that shit, dude. We're straight. Like we're not getting AIDS. We're not getting AIDS. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And it's but this is written during a time when like if you sat on a toilet seat after somebody, like you that people thought you were going to get AIDS. And
my mom was terrified of that when we were kids
in San Francisco. So like my grandparents, they've lived out here in California, but they like would go to San Francisco to like eat Chinese food because it wasn't everywhere at that time, like not the good stuff. So they would take like a 45-minute ride in San Francisco and eat Chinese food. Once AIDS hit, they're like, nah, we're not going to San Francisco anymore. I was like, wait, and like my mom's like, were you guys gonna have gay sex out there? They're like, it's in the air. and which again is another Fauci lie, by the way. Is like that Fauci pushed a lot of that stuff on people and told people that that's how you could get it, and that caused a lot more division amongst people than really was needed.
Oh, no way. Fauci dividing the country over some made up airborne
he stopped there.
plague.
It never happened again, but he stopped there. He's long gone. Nobody's heard of him since. But anyways, what's funny about it though is the subject matter gradually he lets you in, and like finally he just drops on you. It's like, yeah, and I killed a girl the other day or something, and you're just like, oh. And obviously, most people coming to this book have seen the movie before, so there's not much of a big reveal in here at all that he's anything. And it's not a mystery. This book is not a mystery. Yes, there's a detective. Does he matter? Absolutely not. But there is a detective who kind of like loves the finance guy world and stuff, and basically, it's Patrick Bateman just violently murdering women for an entire book, and then through the book is written, I think, in 3 acts of like insanity, and each act is separated by like a 3-page chapter with like 0 paragraph breaks about a very normie 80s band that he pretends to be extremely war, like this like esoteric, like talking about stuff. And the music chapters are so funny because I think it was in the Huey Lewis in the News chapter where he's like, this song, which was not written by the group, it was written by some guy named Hank Williams. Never heard of him. Like, just he's like knows so much about music, but like only that band. Like, there's just no concept of like Hank Williams or like these people who are all-time greats. But that, I love the insanity, like the divisions of like the insanity chapters, just coupled with like a absolute. Also, that's another reason why a lot of right-wing anon guys love that, because he's a spurg.
Yeah. Yeah, just a total schizoid. I like how you say it's not a mystery, because it's just, you're just along for the ride, and even the reveal at the end of like, wait, was this all in his head? Isn't much of a, you don't really give a shit. Like, it's not the point
No.
of the book at all. Because the whole book feels almost meta in a way, in that it's like the fantasy of somebody who would have all these fantasies.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're in the boardroom just dreaming about raping and murdering and just bored out of your mind. And this book is like, yeah, let's follow that guy. Let's go into the inner psyche of that guy. But it's written by somebody who was kind of going through that same thing. Like, Bret Easton Ellis was just like
Yeah.
total alienation, like, material obsession, loner writing this shit.
And I also picture, like, you ever do this, like, with your wife or something, like you leave a place where like you only knew like one or two people, but it was a group, and you just like kind of like, maybe if it wasn't bad, you're like, those people, oh my gosh. And you kind of like, I wish I could have just fucking fucked that guy up. I fucking beat that dude's out. Like, you just start talking about all the dumb shit. That guy's probably a fucking loser, rapist or something, like your might not even be right, but like it feels like this book is coming from like two gay guys leaving a party and just laughing about everybody there, and then like basically saying, well, this is now like that one guy, like, what if this one guy was just an absolute schizo? And honestly, like when I was reading it, I was like, what if they all are? What if everyone in this book is a schizo thinking like this? And we've only centered on one of them. Like, what if McDermott, Price, and Van Patten are all just like thinking the exact same thing? Like in a way, like if this is just like, you think this gives you some sort of individuality as a Wall Street pedal to the metal finance guy, then you realize, no, actually this is what they do. Like they are kind of, I mean, you've asked the right person. Wall Street people are psycho, like, so
yeah,
to a degree you kind of have to be.
I think it is saying that too. Like, I think that is the implication, because everybody is always getting people's names wrong. And so many interpretations of that are that, well, Patrick Bateman is an unreliable narrator. Like, no, everybody in the book is.
Yeah, the way he writes that is so funny. It'll always be like, I forget the names, but again, forget it. You're not supposed to remember the names because none of these people matter. They are non-entities. Patrick Bateman is, you're in like an RPG covered in blood, and it's NPCs everywhere. Basically, it's like Grand Theft Auto. And there are chapters like where he's just like driving around and playing Grand Theft Auto. It's actually awesome. But he's like,
there is like the one chapter that goes to third person where it's just mass shooter shit. He just goes on a shooting spree, and the SWAT comes in and shit.
I know, it's so funny. And then it's just like the next one, it's like, I'm just at Barney's or something, the next chapter. And it's like nothing after that. Nothing. But yeah, like the reason this book is so funny too is just because each chapter, the minute you think you've got some kind of read on it, like you're like, oh, what he's really saying is this and this, he completely denies it. So there's a lot of people that can read this book and they'll go, well, this is like what capitalism puts into people. You are a finance bro, and these people, finance bros, are sadistic, but one guy becomes sentient and decides to kill all these people, and they're evil. He's killing bad people. And then you're like, then one child, killing a child at the zoo is a chapter title, and he just kills a kid. And so you're not like, okay, your theory's in the trash, because these people, like a true psycho, is incoherent. Like, it doesn't make sense. So that's what I like about it.
Yeah, I mean, commentary on anything, I would buy that it's, saying a lot about alienation and loneliness and shit. Uh, capitalism. I mean, whatever it's saying about capitalism is just that Bret Easton Ellis is a gay man who is really brand obsessed,
And
and
also,
that's just
he
you're gonna
likes
see that in
capitalism. He
all
likes
of his books.
capitalism, so he's not gonna fucking write the like Communist Manifesto Psycho book. Like that's just not the book he's gonna write.
Yeah, the capitalist statement is yeah, capitalism. Great.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I mean, it's exactly. And it's just like like a lot of times what he does, like he writes very like hyper present novels, hyper prescient novels. Like this is like he's not necessarily saying this is what happens when this is this big idea. It's usually like, look, this is what I'm seeing right now. He's a satirist. So he's like, you
Mm.
guys might not know what's going on in the financial district. You guys might not know what's happening at a college where all these kids are in love with each other, and breaking up with each other and breaking each other's hearts and fake overdosing and stuff. Like you might not know about that. You might not know what happens at rich kid LA high schools in 1982. I do. Let's have some fun and I'll tell you about them. It's almost like a profile, like a
Mm.
journalistic profile that he
Yeah.
does mixed with stand-up comedy for American Psycho. And it's hilarious.
I really love how they intersect with the rest of his novels too. A lot of people, because this one is so big and so
Yeah.
interpreted in all kinds of different ways, and everybody thinks they know, like it gets new life through different interpretations versus people actually reading it,
Mm.
that it seems separate from the rest of his work. But it is extremely interesting the way it intersects with the rest of his work.
There's a universe. I
'Cause
mean,
the
his brother is Sean Bateman from the Rules of Attraction, who's a great character in Rules of Attraction. Rock and roll is used again. It's like the last line of the book, and the movie. I think the Sean Bateman rock and roll. There's a chat, and Sean Bateman talks about again. Sean, you can read the Rules of Attraction and kind of know that Patrick Bateman is lying about all the stuff that he's doing, because Sean Bateman talks about his brother as this like non-entity.
Mhm.
He's like, oh, I met my brother. I think it's when their dad's dying in Rules of Attraction. They meet
Yeah.
him at the office, and like he's just like, yeah, Patrick's just like a smug prick, like kind of like full of himself. It's not anything like that. But it's funny because Patrick Bateman tries to give himself his own backstory, his own serial killer origin story in American Psycho. So in the book, he'll be like, yeah, and in college they found a girl floating, like dismembered and all that stuff, and you're like, you're lying about that. That's what's so funny. It's like you're lying, like you're confessing to murders you don't do. You are trying to be this individual guy in a job in a kind of a community that thrives on everyone looking the same, sounding the same, to where you're not discernible at all. But he's trying to, because he's always referencing these serial killer books that he reads, which that's probably true, that this character reads all these serial killer books. He's like, oh, they all have origin stories, and mine was like, I killed and raped a girl in like college and loved it, and ever since then so it's like, no, you probably didn't. Like you probably didn't do any of that.
No, 100%.
The Kentucky
It
Derby girl. He's like, when he meets up with the Kentucky Derby girl, he's like, yeah, she was so gone on like pills. He's like, and I was just putting whatever I could find up her, like, at the Kentucky Derby. And she still hangs out with me. She like comes over my house still. It's like, no way.
it's the type of shit that it's the origin story you make up with your friends who know that's what it is too. Like you read this book really knowing what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best book to spoil, because the best
Yeah.
way to come to it is knowing that he's full of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's kind of like listening to your friend who you know really well talk about a bunch of shit that he did not do.
In front of other people too.
Yeah.
Where like you're like, should I say something? Like you guys, like I kind of want to say something, but also I don't want to be a bad friend. But also this guy's lying out his ass right now.
Yeah, it's the best way to read this book, going through, and that's what makes it hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could read it totally innocent and go, "What about this was funny?" Exactly.
I think some people do, because it got a lot of trouble, and people were like, it's just gore porn. I'm like, well, it kind of is. Don't get me wrong. Like all the gore is essential to it, all of that. But it's like, and it isn't. I think a lot of people just don't like it because it's a guy just killing a bunch of women, which it is. That is what's being written about, I guess.
Mhm.
You can read certain pages here, and if you are squeamish and maybe you had something crazy happen to you, like where it's like, yeah, maybe I'll put this down, because he goes into depth.
Yeah.
And
No, that's kind of my favorite part about it,
I love
honestly.
it. It's so good. Yeah, it's your ears perk up, because what Bret Easton Ellis does is he knows he lulls you to sleep sometimes too in this novel, because he's really doesn't write other books like this. This is a different
Yeah.
style. He's like kind of just emptying thoughts out constantly, but he knows you don't care about this paragraph right here. Because why would you? It's him talking about what the taxi when he's talking about the homeless guy who's like, I can't tell if his coat is Burberry or not. It's like just shit like that, and all these like random things. The Sony VX47 doesn't have the laser disc reader, and he knows you don't care about that. And so you could like skip that paragraph if you want to, but also you know that he's got you by the balls, and you got to read it all, because you're just like, fuck it,
I get so hypnotized by that shit. Like, I tell this is what I hype David on all the time, is the proper nouns, and like he really influenced my intentional like seeking of just the right perfect word. Like, people who know about this shit, what do they call it? What is this piece of architecture like actually called? What is this style of, like, I love reading that shit when I know nothing about what it is.
yeah.
Like the Sony VX whatever, like okay. But I love reading about people who know their shit.
Yeah, you picture a bunch of scattered catalogs around Bret Easton Ellis's apartment, and plus a bunch of serial killer books, and then just personal interactions in the up here, in the thing, like just Sony cat, or like, whatever Sears catalog or something where they're selling stereos. They're like, okay, cool, Patrick's gonna have that, and the chapter titles too. I mean, the chapter titles, I think, make the book. I think they're the funniest part about the book, like in terms of structure, because I mean, it'll just be like, I don't know why it's so funny. I was trying to think of words for this, but like there's a part when you don't hear from like Lewis Carruthers for a while. For Lewis Carruthers is the gay man who's marrying the girl Patrick was fucking. But Lewis Carruthers is constantly talking about, like, he's the only guy that's going, wow, Patrick, you're so well spoken, when he's saying gobbledygook basically at this stuff. And he's like, Patrick, you're so well spoken. And they have the interaction where Patrick's gonna kill him, but then he thinks he's choking him, and he like kisses his hand and stuff. But then I love the chapter that just says confronted by faggot, like on there, and it's Lewis when he throws a tantrum in the store. Yeah, it's so funny.
It's so many like lists. No, the chapter titles are genius in themselves, because you think about somebody sitting in their office writing out a list of things that of everything. There's chapters that are called like Thursday, and then there's like lunch, and then it's
Girls.
killing dog.
Cooking and eating a woman is one chapter, and then the next chapter is bringing an Uzi to the gym, where it's like it's a paragraph long, and he's like, this isn't the time. He's like gonna spray up the gym that costs like $5,000 a year. It's gonna take a Uzi and spin it around in circles. Like I don't know. It's just it's hysterical. I mean, he is the top satirist of our time. I think, like, guys, you go back to like the Jonathan Swift times of like Gulliver's Travels, like he's doing the same thing. Like he's doing the same thing. Like I know people, I think people want to knock it down a peg because it's so highly regarded, and it becomes a cottage industry to have an anti-Bret Easton Ellis take. But I'm sorry, man, people just aren't writing books like this, and this breaks every rule of a book. But then it reminds you that there are no rules, except if you're you, like, guy who doesn't write good books. There's rules for you. There's not rules for this guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's the greats are I think great art is objective, really. More and more I have that take.
I agree.
Because you're just wrong if you don't like Bret Easton Ellis, if you don't fuck with, like, another one is Chuck Palahniuk, who people want, like, constantly want to be like, nah, Palahniuk is overrated. He does that thing that he does what? He does that thing that only he can do, that everybody else tries to ape. kind of like how Bret Easton Ellis has a
Everybody.
bunch of biters, but it doesn't work because they're supposed to be following the rules, and there's exceptional people.
Yeah.
Like that's where great art comes from, is the exception. Here's these rules because if you don't do things like this, it's probably going to be trash.
Right.
Here's this guy who breaks all the rules because he's exceptional.
Well, and he wins with the idea. Like he basically you're obsessed with this Patrick Bateman guy who, for like the first 5 chapters, who's just methodically describing his life. He's definitely violent, has violent thoughts. There's like one of my favorite parts is like when he first starts really leaking out like who he is, and he's having dinner with Evelyn. For anybody who's coming from the movie, that's the Reese Witherspoon character, his girlfriend, who's like not, she's just like she keeps floating the idea of marriage to this guy, just in some like medieval courtship kind of way. Like, well, we'll
very
just do
gay
it.
man's understanding of what straight relationships are.
Yeah, but also a very gay man's idea of like, I hang out with women constantly, but I never listen to them and what they're saying. Like that's also like a very gay guy thing. Like, I mean, whom among us around straight guys has tuned out of a woman's thing, but like for most gay guys, they're like, oh, she's just talking about bullshit. I'm not listening to that. Like, just bullshitting. And she's wearing this stupid thing, like, the ear, like he knows where girls' earrings come from. Like they're like pendants, like he like knows where they're from. It's just it's crazy. And to hammer home that like you're gayer than a gay guy, basically, if you're a finance yuppie guy. So yeah, well, there is a part, like I was saying, where I think it was him and Evelyn are let me see. Yeah, I don't have it marked, but it was where it's Evelyn, he's at dinner with Evelyn, and he's just like, she's talking and it just immediately cuts off her sentence, and he's just like looking at her and he's like, I wonder if Evelyn would ever get it on with another girl. Probably not. I wonder if she'd get on with another girl if I had her at gunpoint, like, and he's just like, what if I just like took a fucking gun out on her? And it's just like, I don't know. A lot of people are scared to admit that they've had like insane violent thoughts, just something that doesn't deserve a violent reaction. But like you have these, you're like, God, if this guy says one more thing, and he's not doing anything wrong other than being annoying, you're like, one more thing, and you just think about like hitting him with something. Like I've thought about hitting somebody in the head with a cinder block or something. I'm not going to do it, but I've thought about it, and that's what this book.
It's like anytime like you're really high up, like you're on the 25th floor of a parking garage or something, and there's a can sitting on a ledge, and you're like, this would be a fucking missile if I just flicked it over the edge onto that dude's head.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, everybody thinks that. You see a kid riding a bike and you're like, I could just like kick him in the face, just like Bruce Lee that kid to the ground, and this bike would go flying down the road. And then maybe somebody swerves to avoid it and they crash their car. Everybody, you just think that shit.
It's CKY brain, dude. That's how things like CKY start, is like you think about chaos you can cause with one simple action. Like, and as a guy, like you always have that in your brain, like whether you do it or not. If you have kids, you try to stop your kids from doing that, but you're also like, fuck, I remember when I used to do shit like that. It's just this like constant cycle of it. And like, but Patrick Bateman takes it to a degree where he's constantly going to the hardware store and like buying stuff from the hardware store, constantly going to the video store and returning videotapes. And he's like insane. I don't know if this is true or not. He like, it can't be, because this is like late 80s when this is happening. His like movie membership costs like $2,000 a year at the movie store.
Yeah, that's not even some of the shit. I mean, even the gym membership, I'm like,
back then,
really?
Yeah. I think maybe he is just insane, and like he's just like, yeah, it's $2,000 and I get to, I mean, is the video store real? I mean, are we really returning videotapes? Like, because there is the scene where he goes to the video store and there is the young girl working there, and he's like, I want to fuck Jamie Gertz. And the girl's like, who's Jamie Gertz? And he's like, which is funny because Jamie Gertz plays what's her name in Less Than Zero, so that's pretty funny. And the girl, but he's like, yeah, he's like, I want to say that, I want to fuck, and he's like, you don't know who that is? And he's like buying like anal gaping porn and body double because he likes Brian De Palma's Body Double because of the drill going through a woman's face, and that's like what he said he's rented it like 47 times. It's so funny.
Yeah, no, I think these are just childish numbers. It's like
Yeah.
I've rented this movie 47 times. My
Well, it's like Bill
membership
Gates.
costs $2,000 a year.
Yeah, and then he goes, and he's constantly worried about late fees. He goes, but well, I do have the $2,000 membership. I can check out as many as I want. And then he's like, whew, you know, and like, all right, like, anyways, back to drilling a hole in a woman's skull. like it's, but like the videotapes thing, I think is just like a lack of a social cue, where I think he's just like to get out of a conversation or to like think about something other than what he's really thinking about. He just goes to the videotape thing. Like, and I obviously he is watching these crazy like anal porn videos with like fisting and stuff and all of that. But I remember he has one line where after he kills Paul Owen, who's the Jared Leto character from the movie, after he kills Paul Owen, he like uses his apartment. In the movie, of course, he uses it to like film sex scenes with hookers, but he's like dissolving the bodies, and he's like sitting there watching like porn while the body's dissolving in the thing, and he's just like watching it and stuff. It's like it's fucking crazy.
It's insane.
Yeah. No, it gets and he ups the ante every time, because you think like you're like, dang, you don't want to blow your load too early, like, you know. It gets crazier every time. Like there's one part at the beginning, because there's chapters called Girls all throughout the book, and like the first chapter with Girls is like got two hookers, had a threesome, and you can tell he's like not having that much fun. He's like happy that he was able to orchestrate it, but it feels like a test run for something. And he's like, yeah, I'm like fucking this girl in the mouth and stuff, and she's like, you know, basically like, oh yeah, this is great and stuff, and he's like, yeah, it's whatever. And then like later he like kills a girl and like fucks like the hole in her neck and stuff. He's like, this is great. He's like, now we're talking.
Yeah, and then up it even one more time with the third round of Girls.
Ooh, the rats too. The rat putting a tube inside of a woman and letting a rat go up there and go crazy, and then like later you forget about the rat, and he's like, yeah, and then the rat came out of her and it had like blood all over. You're like, like,
that's
what?
that's the worst part, because
It's
you
so
do
gross.
it's just like initially you talk about shoving tubes up people, you're like, God. And I know that like people do it. Like there's a lot of people that do that shit, whether with animals or whatever. They're like just shoving shit up their ass and everything. I'm like, like, no, what the fuck?
It's so rough. And like, you know, just I remember he has his ex-girlfriend too. I think this is like midway through the book, his like ex-girlfriend who he invites back to the apartment, and she's like, oh, I shouldn't have had that glass of wine. She's like, okay, fine. And she lets him know that his painting's upside down, this really nice painting that he had. And then he just goes nail gun to the back of the head. He's like, don't fucking dare, dude. Like, how dare you? And just, the nail gun is wild, man. Like just having a nail gun around. Especially because like, you know, there's so many subtleties in this book. He has a crack in his there's like a crack in his awning or something like that, or a ceiling, that he's constantly going down to the property manager, whatever, the apartment building manager, saying he has a crack in the ceiling, whatever, it doesn't get fixed. And he knows the most about food out of anybody. He knows so much about food, yet there's two times, like one, he has all this hardware store stuff, yet he can't fix anything in the apartment, never even tries once to fix that crack in the ceiling. It's not for that. He'd rather just leave it there and complain about it. And then he's also, when he tries to cook and eat one of the women, he's just like, he's told you everything about every dish, what magazine, what Zagat has it rated at, all of these things, and he's like, I don't know how to cook. This sucks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, again, that's like he's every right-wing anon account who
Yeah.
are just so I know everything. Okay, show your face. Like, who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, they
What do
get
you
doxxed and they're
do?
like 300 pounds and like pimply, and you're like, oh, that's why you were private.
Yeah. Or
Ah,
they're
yeah.
like 20 years old and they're fucking spurgs and they're fatherless incels who have no idea what they're talking about. They don't do shit.
It's predicting that, and maybe nothing ever does happen. Like maybe this is just what the new guy is like. Like it's just it's the same type of guy existing in a different world and stuff. And it would be funny if they like incorporated that into the new film as like an anonymous profile where he like threatens women online. That'd be funny.
Yeah,
where like that's the freedom you have with this character. You can do whatever you want with him.
Austin Butler is Howling Mutant.
Uh,
Or
yeah.
you, you'd have to be something else than that for it to really work, because Howling Mutant is a treasure
He's funny,
on
and
Twitter.
he's affable and funny. Like he's not like a true host scare like Patrick Bateman. So yeah, but it just but like one of those people where like he's just like posting like random gore, like surgical gore pictures to like women that he knows, you know, but from like an anonymous account. Like you can do a lot of stuff like that and like kind of modernize it, because I love that he has zero skills. I mean, his job is really funny too, because you get a glimpse of like his job not being real at all. Like he doesn't have to go into the office ever. He could just live. He owns the company. It's his dad died and he has the
Mhm.
company. Sean has no interest in running this place. Just give me my cut of it. But it's that Pearson Pierce firm or whatever. But at the beginning, I think at the beginning of the movie and the book, they ask like, Patrick, you can get away from the office anytime you want. Like, why do you go to this place? You practically own it. And he's like, I want to fit in. And he says that. And it's this really funny line, the way he delivers it, like with such severity. But then throughout the book, you see him like pretending like he has a hard day at work. But there's nobody, none of these people are ever doing any work. There's no numbers being entered in. Nothing's happening. It's just lunch. It's just literally lunch and drinks the entire time. But you know, he's just kind of like the job is like he has a secretary, like for what? To make reservations for you. Like the job is completely fake. It's so funny.
I love that part in the movie where Chloe Sevigny finds like goes through his ledger or whatever,
That's
and
great.
it's like super blank
Mm-hmm.
besides
There's
just
nothing happening. Yeah.
like there's nothing going on, and then a whole bunch of like severed, mutilated women and shit.
And it's drawn like a 7th grader too, like in like
Yeah.
7th grade, like your class, where it's like obviously like you're a concerned parent. You're like, I don't know if maybe my kid shouldn't be drawing stuff like this, but you're kind of like, this is like a loser, kind of like for a guy Patrick Bateman's age, it's like kind of lame, you know. But if it was like a
Uh,
little kid, you'd be like, oh, we gotta talk to this kid. Like, you can't be doing
yeah.
stuff like that. But like, this is a 26-year-old guy like drawing shit like this. Who cares? Yeah. Like it's just so funny. And yeah, like there's Jean, who is the secretary, who's played by Chloe Sevigny in the movie, and she is always referred to as Jean, who is in love with me. My secretary Jean, who is in love with me constantly. And he's like, I probably will end up marrying her. Hard body is used constantly, a very old school term. And just the clubs they go to. I love the details. I love Bret Easton Ellis's music stuff, because he's like the same age as my mom and they listen to the same music. So a lot of the stuff she would play as a kid, he always incorporates into his like 80s novels, especially the Shards. But they'll have when they go to the club, there's always In Excess playing, and it's always the same 2 In Excess songs playing back to back at every club that they go to. And like, I think there's one other one, like Belinda Carlisle. There's like 3 songs that are playing at every single club, which you start to think too, this is another game he plays where, am I lying to you, or are all these fucking clubs that try to be different actually the same? You know, like, are
Right.
all these establishments that are like, ooh, new restaurant from Jean-Pierre is opening up and it's state of the art and all that stuff, and they're like, oh, at the end of the day, there's exposed ducts at the top, it looks unfinished, and there's a red light, and they're playing the same exact song way too loud.
Yeah, I mean, it is like it's almost a book that's saying everything is what it is, because all these clubs trying to be different, they're all the same. All
Mm-hmm.
these people trying to fit in, they're all psychos.
Right.
Like everything is what it's trying not to be.
Yeah, and you figure too, like I don't think this is necessarily what he's saying in the book, but like you think about it, like I could give you a couple sentences from the book, and to take it to somebody from like the primitive ages of like 900 AD or something, or even before that, like just like a Viking, like a conquest Viking guy. And you could say, like, you could show him a paragraph about, you know, Giorgio Armani in here, going in detail to detail, and then one about like, I chopped this a woman's head, or I took an axe to Paul Owen's head and described that. You ask the Viking which one's crazier, they're going to say the fucking Giorgio Armani thing. Like they're going to be like, yeah, why would you care that much about this stupid shit like that you wear, like this thing that, you know? So it's like, it's kind of the idea too, is like, they're all, every line is delivered with the same intensity, you know, except for like the outright like yelling and like racist stuff that's happening. And even sometimes instead of like yelling, he'll go, and then I screamed like this at the woman, you know, which it acts as like even more of a crazy thing, because you're like, oh, I don't even know what exactly he said, but he probably said some wild ass shit. And then later in the book, he just calls everyone the N-word and stuff, and like it just fully 4chans out, like, and just so it's hilarious, man.
What do you think Bret Easton Ellis was saying with that?
Yeah, I know, and that's the other thing. He's doing stand-up comedy in here. Like, it's truly like a stand-up comedy routine, like a character, like performance art as like as a character. It's like Sam Hyde. It's like very like proto Sam Hyde.
I was just thinking Sam Hyde. Like, yeah, this book is like literary Sam Hyde.
Yeah, no, exactly.
From the 5 to the 6, we be in the mix. With that red candy paint job on the whip. I need food for the kids, money for the rent. Fuck a lockdown, baby, can't do
that shit. You have the like just the kind of like response that wouldn't work if someone wrote it that way, but that's why it's funny. Like it's like, wait, that's why would anyone think to say that back, like if you were writing a book? And it's like, well, he's a psycho. So I think that's why a lot of people think this is a cop-out, like some of this book is a cop-out. I could go on like Goodreads, and beyond the people that are complaining about the actual gore and like, you know, misogyny and stuff, there's a lot of people saying like, well, if you just make a psycho guy and then just say, well, he's whatever, and then the cop-out is that, well, of course this doesn't make sense. It doesn't have to. He's a psycho. I go, no, that's how this works, actually. And it's all about how well you establish this character. And he's always been a stylist. Bret Easton Ellis is a stylist. That's what he is. He's a satirist and a stylist. And that's where he wins you over. From the beginning of the book, he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And I mean, I think we said this on maybe the Rules of Attraction episode, but like, if you have no sense of humor, you're just not gonna get it.
Yeah.
Like, and people tie themselves up in knots over trying to be like, whether they love it or hate it, or they're defending it or they're like condemning it. It's they tie themselves up in these academic knots trying to be so fucking serious about it, and it's like it's not. It is ironic in like the literal definition of it, but it's not just being ironic with its nose in the air. It's like it's being funny.
Yes. And you're allowed to laugh at how gross it is. You're allowed to laugh at like at a guy perplexed as though he bought a bunch of things from a store and is like, why did I go to the grocery store hungry? I don't know what I'm going to make with this, but it's a dead woman splayed out on the floor. You're allowed to laugh at that. Like that. And that's the beauty of I think we talked about this on the Shards episode as well, where it's just like, use the medium to do stuff like that. Like this is why writing, like this is the advantage. If people could talk about, oh, books are at a low right now, like people aren't reading. Well, if nobody's reading, then write something weird, man. Like if it like the mods are asleep, you know, like on the message board, like if nobody's reading, write something insane. Because the problem is people write books right now in the detached Bret Easton Ellis voice because they think, oh, I'm detached. I grew up on Vyvanse. I fucking am on SSRI. But guess what? You're not as interesting as him. You're not as observant as him. And you're not able to take a certain thought and project it into one character that I care about for 400 pages. And you're detaching from nothing usually too. Like Bret Easton Ellis documents what he's detaching from all the time. If you listen to his podcast, he goes, well, in this book, Rules of Attraction, I was going through a college breakup where it was a guy that was like bisexual, but more than likely going to end up with a woman. I was a fling. I thought it was this. Therefore, you get Rules of Attraction. Less Than Zero. He was like, I felt very numb graduating from this high school, and I wanted to to put that feeling of numbness in there. The Shards is definitely kind of like an expanded epic of Less Than Zero in a sense. Functions in the same world at least. And then this book,
The book is
like,
such a masterpiece.
I still think it's his best so far. Shards is like, I think if that came out in 1997, it would have been massive. And unfortunately, it got like wasted on people, and people viewed it as a podcast book, I think, which that is the best way to listen to it, is through his podcast on Patreon, because he reads it and they document it on the Patreon, I think, of like all the chapters, so you can like get through them and stuff. And that is the best way. And I think it's unedited on the Patreon. And I think some people say that the book, which I have literally right here, is edited a little bit more, and maybe it just doesn't read as well. I think it's like kind of because I think he meant to like have the book consumed through that medium, and then eventually people were like, dude, you have to write this, we have to print it and all that stuff. So I think it's meant to be. So I just think that book in like 10 years is going to be viewed as an insane masterpiece, because right now people are like so romantic about like publishing still, and they're like, well, it's not a book unless you buy it at the store, or like
you didn't go through the proper channels,
which he would tell you don't exist, and he's correct.
Absolutely, and he would know the best. He's been through it all, and I really stopped giving a shit. Not like I ever gave much of one at all, but anybody's idea of what the publishing industry is, when you won't listen to Bret Easton Ellis, who has had major success through traditional publishing, telling you that the shit just does not exist anymore. Like, it's not the way to do shit. And he's just dropping books on his podcast. You're still gonna ignore that? Really? You think you want to be on Simon and fucking Schuster? Like, get out of here.
You're not there. The thing is like, and I wonder, for some people, now you don't come from this world, but I think there's a lot of like MFA program people who, if they self-publish a book and tell their parents, right, and their parents go, what, I paid for the fucking MFA program for you to self-publish? So there's like a lot of like, Dad, I'm on Penguin,
and it's simple validation too, because they could be like, hey, Dad, I'm on Penguin, and he doesn't even ask for like, what was the advance, or like how much you making?
Just, I'm published, Dad. I'm published.
Oh wow, you're a Random House, huh? It's like, literally, who gives a shit? There's people who want Texas tea, and I've had honest conversations about, like, I've had really honest conversations about it, and it's always money. I'm like, how much? Like, give me $100 grand, we can talk. They're like, it ain't gonna be that, but like, can't wait to read it. I'm like, okay, you can read it when I publish it through Broken River, because
right, and like that is a. I think he had trouble getting this published. I didn't look too far into it, but I know he had like trouble getting American Psycho published, and this is during probably the last era of like the rock star author, like because even in the 2000s, I don't know that we had the rock star author, maybe a little bit, but maybe that was kind of the end of it. But like the 90s was like the last like rock star author. You had like Bret Easton Ellis, I think Jonathan Franzen, Chuck Palahniuk, like guys that like you'd see out on the town, and they were as much of a celebrity as people as they were writers. In fact, some people would only know them as people and maybe not read their books, or only read their, like the rock star writer. Nowadays, like I said, I think you have a lot of people who are overeducated, and they're constantly like sitting on material, whether it's good or bad. They're sitting on this material and kind of like using themselves as a martyr, like trying to get it published in an industry that doesn't exist. And it's like, well, and I listen to his podcast when people write. It's a lot of writers that will write him in his mailbag. Those are his best episodes, of the mailbag ones. And he'll say, guys, I'm not trying to like be mean or anything. He's like, but screenplays, all of these things, there's no like guy you just hand it to anymore. And then the guy goes, well, I'll give it to my boss. And he's like, it's not the way the world works. So like, are you guys, I don't even think that's something you can like salvage on your own either. Like, I don't think that's so like, we have more freedom now to do the things that we want to do, but you are limited to like, okay, well, this isn't going to get a marketing budget from there. But again, is Simon and Schuster giving you a marketing budget, even if they do to publish it? That's the weird part about it.
I have a friend who, I got to be careful because I don't want to like throw his shit under the bus, but like I have a friend who's going through some shit with a publisher who wants him to do all this promotion and shit and is like, here's your schedule. And he's like, all right, so I'm trying to plan this and that. And I'm like, how are they like, are they paying for this shit? Really already knowing the answer.
Right. Right.
And he's like, nah, but it's an investment. I'm like, an investment in what? They like if you want me to fly to another city, you're buying the ticket or I'm not going, period. That like it's it's not a difficult concept. Like it's just what for what. You can't tell me what to do and not cough up some money for it.
I totally agree, man. I totally agree. Yeah, I just in this book, there's just like constant, like there's constant just new girls that show up. I love the almost like the chapter endings function as like a blackout, where it's like, yeah, and then I blacked out. Like he doesn't say it, but like the Bateman's like, this is over. We're at Nell's 6 hours later after I've ostensibly killed a woman.
So good at I know it's not like quite the same thing, like being a sociopath or living out whether fantasizing about being a serial killer or being a serial killer, whatever. Like it's not exactly the same thing as like being a meth head or an insomniac, but they're very similar in the way that your day to day just feels like it all just blurs together.
Sure. When you have a job like that too, when you have a job like that, especially just, I mean, again, he doesn't have to have a job, but again, like, what if he didn't? He feels the need to maintain optics for something that where like nobody gets his name right ever except Evelyn. Like literally, like that's also another joke of this. He could get away with all of this stuff. You feel like, or at least a decent amount of it, because like nobody even knows the name of the guy that's missing that day at work. They're like, is that Marcus Halberstrom? Is that this guy? Is it this? Is that? And they're like, no, you dumbass. That's, Elliot Johnson. And they're like, no, it's not. And then it's really a secret, like 8th name that not even like you realize like how much all of this is one big blob and it doesn't matter. And like you said, those days are time warps. Those days are just like odd days where stuff doesn't make sense and logic is gone. And like when you have one of those jobs where you're just not passionate about it at all and you're constantly thinking about the thing you are passionate about, even if it's not killing people, even if it's something constructive, something that you actually do, like that's the stuff you care about documenting. That's the stuff you care about sharing to people, rather than I took a nail and hammered it in there, like, and then I did that again, and then I had lunch, like I'm not going to share that with you.
Man, I'm thinking of a totally different spin on the ending now too. Thinking about how everybody is so forgettable and everybody basically is Patrick Bateman, that there's the possibility he did all this stuff.
Yeah.
And at the end, they're like, when dude's like, I just had dinner with him in London like 5 days ago. It's like, are you sure?
He might not have.
Or are you thinking of somebody else?
Right. And you don't know these hookers, these like random girls, which people forget their names half the time too. You don't know. And then there is one time where a guy recognizes him as a limo driver, because he had killed a limo driver once. And the way he talks about it's funny, because the guy robs him, which is hilarious. He gets robbed for all his stuff. He gets like pulled over and he gets robbed by the cab driver. And he goes, they probably have my picture up everywhere at that cab stand where I killed that cab driver. He's like, they probably. And even then there's like this narcissism element. It's like, they're probably thinking about me 24/7 at that cab stand.
Yeah.
Like, they got pictures of me everywhere. I'm the talk of the town, obviously. One thing we got to mention is the presence of Donald Trump in this. He's everywhere. He's everywhere. It's kind of funny because at the time, Donald Trump is like business tycoon guy. There was kind of a thing about Donald Trump, like before he became president, was kind of like, yeah, what does this guy actually do? Like he was kind of like, was he just like a wheel and deal, like money guy where everything's gold? And he's like entertaining and funny, and he's got on The Apprentice and stuff. But this is even before that. this is 10 years prior to like him being a reality star, and he was just kind of like this businessman, mergers and acquisitions socialite guy, and Patrick Bateman wants to be him, right? So I think people would have a different view altogether about Donald Trump, but at the time people were like, wow, he's aspiring to be this guy who like people aren't even sure what he actually does, you know, but he's everywhere. He knows. There's that part where everyone knows how obsessed he is with Donald Trump because Trump I think Patrick Bateman talks about the pizza at this one place, and he's like, I fucking hated the pizza at this one place. And the guy goes, it was phenomenal. And they don't speak together for a while. The next day they meet up, and I think it's like Van Patten or McDermott, one of those guys. He says, you know who really loved that pizza? Donald Trump. And he's like, well, yeah, okay. I mean, the flour they used is fine. I mean, you know, and it's just like he is obsessed with Trump. So it is kind of crazy how predictive all of this stuff is. We're talking about right wing anons, all of these things that this all becomes, and then
people, if Trump loves it, then it's the best.
It's crazy.
Which is what so many people do with the. It's like pick a lane. Do you want to follow who like Ray Pete, or do you want to be like? McDonald's is the best food of all time. You know why? Because Donald Trump says that it's the best. Like, pick a side.
He's a plan truster. I mean, he might be the first plan truster, Patrick Bateman. He might be the first like QAnon guy. I mean, you figure. I mean, he's killing people and he's obsessed with Donald Trump. And I'm not like, you know, I'm not even against the guy. I just mean like it's just funny at the time you're reading this. You're like, how the fuck, like, how forward thinking are you? And obviously, I don't think even, you know, Bret Easton Ellis is thinking that Donald Trump's ever going to be like president of the United States or anything at the time. But it's just kind of crazy how the news cycle, like Patrick Bateman's news cycle is kind of like our news cycle. Like there's these times where Patrick Bateman's just like at the beginning when he's trying to impress people at the party and he's just talking about every current event. And he has that show that he watches, the Patty Winters show, which is the subject matter gets more and more like Requiem for a Dream, like as the book goes on. Like at first it's like, oh, you know, this lady's on there and she lost her house and she's talking about it. Then it's like, ooh, silly pet tricks. And then it's like 14-year-old girls that sell their pussy for crack, like is like the thing afterwards. And which again, that kind of was a thing in during 90s daytime talk shows. There was like exploitation. So it's not that out of the question. But I just think he's like a guy who's just saying the news cycle over and over again and then going to Trump. And then you're just like, whoa, there's people like that now. And they're void, they're all void of any actual interest in anything too. So it's just it's kind of it's nothing ever does happen, even despite the world changing.
I think you're most intuitive just when you document shit, when you're just observant in the present moment.
Noticing
is how you intuit the most. And you don't know it when it's happening. Like, I don't think Bret Easton Ellis was very forward thinking or predictive in what he was doing with any of this. It was just like being observant.
Yeah.
And then you really see how just shit evolves and it, you know, alchemizes and mixes with different things, but it doesn't really change.
Yeah, he's almost like doing this like Hunter S. Thompson kind of thing, though not really declaring himself as that. Like he's kind of just like, I'm involved in all of these things. All of the stuff you guys watch on TV, Entertainment Tonight, who the celebrity, who's dating this, who does that. I will tell you what that world actually is. You'll be surprised how boring and stupid it is. But what if in that boring and stupid world, there was a guy talking about sawing women's heads off, putting stuff up their pussy, like doing all of these crazy things, but saying it in the same tone as he is describing the latest Huey Lewis in the News record, which again, that in itself is an irony because those records are not anything beyond pop music, like anything beyond like, you know, yuppie, like convertible phone inside the car, like driving down the coast, just listening to Hip to Be Square. And he talks about it as though it's like William Blake or something like, and it's the whole part of that is like, these people will find this importance in stuff that is just not important at all. And that is more psychotic than actually just engaging in something and then throwing it away and moving on to something else. You know, just being like, okay, this is Huey Lewis in the News. I'm going to go listen to this other artist later. he puts this like, no, you don't understand. And that's the psychotic obsession with, I won't say bad music. I'm not into it, but like bad music. But he also hated on my guy Peter Gabriel and the Phil Collins thing, so I got a little pissed off about that. I hope that's not his real opinion. I fucking hope that's not Bret Easton Ellis' real opinion, that Peter Gabriel was the worst part of Genesis. Because I will, if I ever talk to him, I will fucking like bring that up. I hope that's like a Batemanism and not a Ellisism.
Right.
But you, like,
Like,
just
what would a crazy person think?
maybe,
What
I'm
would their
hoping, because that's
opinion be?
correct. That was what a crazy person would think. But yeah, he just, this idea that like everything that I'm fixated on, despite it being literally just consumerist, nothing, whatever, this is Game 7 of the World Series level important, and I'm glad I have you as my audience, even though we're all interested in like, hey, what are you gonna do to that girl you just met?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's Jean too. I like what they do in the movie with Jean. They combine her with the other girl who basically Patrick says, "Oh, I'm gonna kill you if I'm with you any longer," you know. And he's that part's good. I like what they do in the movie with combining Jean into that character. But then in the book, it's good because it works well for the book when he actually kind of soft dates Jean a little bit, and he's like, I can't do this. I am a psycho.
There's a lot of that in the book, you know, in knowing what medium you're working with, right? Going back to
Yeah.
that, like, there's a lot that should not have been in the movie, but it only works because it's the book. And I'm curious what, I hope with the new movie they take from the book but do the same thing. They're like, this is a movie, we're gonna, you know, do something different. But I hope it's not just a rip of the movie that's already been made. You know, let's modernize it and throw in some different actors and do the thing that they already did with that other movie.
I like Luca a lot. I think Luca is one of the best directors right now. So when I found out it was him, I got excited. And I'm excited for Ryan Murphy to do the Shards, which I think is great. I think you need a trashy gay guy to do Shards. Like
that's happening?
Yeah.
That could be tight.
It's a series too, so it's like, you know, they're gonna do that. And I just think Ryan Murphy's not gonna skimp on like the psychotic gay stalker, like yearning aspect of it, and the trashiness, like, because, you know, I watched there's a Gain of Fiction episode coming out on Sharp Objects, which is a masterpiece of a book in my opinion, and I loved the show when it came out. Then rewatching the show, the 2018 series, I was like, it was directed by some like French guy who had to make it look like high art with what's always twilight and the magic hours hitting. And it's like, no, I want like a sweaty person with like sweat stains and like, you know, like I want like that, you know, and people are sweaty in the show, but I think Ryan Murphy's more or less going to do a good job with the Shards, and at least make it just entertaining. And I think that show might make, if the show is good, it's going to make the book a hit, because it is a really good mystery thriller. Like it's like yeah,
it is crazy how slept on that book is.
Yeah.
Like everybody, well, like in our bubble, I feel like, or in a couple of bubbles, because I know people from like the indie literary world who really fucked with it.
Yeah.
It's weird how much of like a cult hit it is when it's so far into this megastar's career. Like it's fucking Bret Easton Ellis, and it's like a cult hit, a little known, like a best kept secret that this is a modern day masterpiece.
And he lost a little bit of audience, I think, in terms of literary audience when he wrote White, which is good.
That's right. I haven't read that one, but
it's good. It's good. I mean, it's kind of like, by now it's stuff you've all heard, but he was saying it at a time where he's like, why are we tripping out about Donald Trump? Like, why are we like, why is everybody like going crazy? Like when I was a kid, very rallying against PC culture, which now when you hear somebody come out against PC culture, you're like, hey man, where were you a long time ago? But it's good. But White, it alienated a lot of his audience, which is funny because when you're a Bret Easton Ellis audience person and you're like a liberal or something, like you're always scared to like indict yourself. I think that's when you have to like insulate yourself from the material, where you're like, well, it's satire and all of these things. And yes, it is satire, but you're reading it, you're sick and gross. So deal with it. Like, you're gross, you're ugly. You read the graphic gay sex scenes. You read all that stuff and you liked it. And you like the misogyny in his books. You like all of these things.
It's satire that's coming from the inside, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a lot of satire is, look at It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, right?
Right.
Which the majority, I haven't seen every episode or whatever.
I don't think anybody has. Yeah.
It's been on for so fucking long. It's crazy.
I thought it was AI. The new season looks like AI. I was like, are they just AIing It's Always Sunny? Yeah.
Maybe. But like, that shit's coming from the outside. Like, these are mega libs that are making this show about just the trashiest, most terrible people. But it's funny. It works. But that is how most satire is coming from the outside. Bret Easton Ellis is like, these people are me.
Yeah.
And
yeah, you're right.
I'm gonna make fun of them and I'm gonna ridicule them, but they're me.
And he's making fun of himself as the observer sometimes, where it's like, who am I? What am I doing holier than thou? In the Shards, like, that's ultimate unreliable narrator kind of story, where it's like, I'm observing this, I'm writing a book, I'm the smartest kid in school, kind of, basically, but then getting called on it and they're like, dude, you're fucking insane. Like, what is wrong with you? It's just people saying that constantly and like being like caught in the act. Whereas in like American Psycho, like you said, he probably likes a lot of the clothing these people are wearing. He probably likes, I know he likes Body Double by Brian De Palma. I've just heard him talk about it. And like, I know he like a lot of these things. He's probably like, yeah, I kind of like it. Like, I'm 1 foot in, 1 foot out as the observer. But also when somebody notices you observing and like calls you on it, that often happens in the book, I feel like, in his books, where it's like, hey man, you're in here with us too, buddy. You're not better than us, and I think that's the coziness and the intimacy of a Bret Easton Ellis novel. Whereas a lot of people think he's keeping you away and detaching and stuff, but really it's like, no, you're observing. You're right there with them, watching everything happen.
That's something I decided to do with Texas Tea. Was like, nice. I've always been very, I think, like coming at the observations that I've made in other books of, hood rats and low lives, but from an empathetic, like, right there in the trenches with them, like, perspective. Like, this is, and it's a sympathetic perspective and it's a lived experience or whatever. But like with Texas Tea, I'm just like ridiculing the same people, like all calling out all the bullshit. And yeah, it's that satire coming from inside the house. It's like, I mean, this is me.
Yeah.
And also here's all this bullshit. Like,
right. No, I hear you. Exactly. And, bringing it back to what we were talking about earlier is like just how this book still resonates to this day, perhaps even more so, because I think people just maybe weren't even ready for this at the time. It became a bestseller after a while because of the taboo nature of it. I mean, people wanted it censored, people wanted it out. I think to a degree that ended up happening.
It was wrapped in plastic for a while.
That's right, like a biohazard almost.
Yeah. Which is that was always insane to me.
That's tight, though. That's tight. Is. Yeah,
because there's like porn would be wrapped in plastic, so kids can't just open it up and look at naked bitches in the bookstore. Or you'd have manga for the same reason. Like a lot of really graphic manga would be wrapped in plastic. This is a book with words. And like that's baller shit, honestly. I can't think of another time they did that to a novel.
Yeah, it's like, because also, what's weird about it is like there is a taboo nature to like open the Hellraiser cube, right? Like you're like, I'm gonna open the Hellraiser cube, because if I saw a book wrapped in plastic, why the fuck is that book wrapped in plastic in the fiction section? I'm like, I'm buying that. Like, for sure, I'm buying that.
It's the explicit content, the parental advisory sticker.
Super gore,
like, now when you don't see, like, they put that shit on there trying to keep people away from it. And now you put like, every artist puts it on there themselves. They
I
don't go
know.
through a board to get it on there. They're like, "You make sure you got the explicit sticker on there."
Yeah, they'll be like, "Hey, say fuck like 3 more times, and I think we qualify." Yeah, or something. Yeah, it's just, yeah, it's just funny, and like with him, he talks about the book writing himself. He notices a certain thing, and he's like, in the book writes itself. He was not a working writer. I think he would take jobs with like Vanity Fair. I think times and times to do profiles and stuff, but in terms of novels, he was not a like working short story writer. He didn't want to write a novel a year. He wasn't like one of those people. But I think he maybe regrets a little bit not working that way because maybe there's money left on the table. But every one of his books has like this huge, I mean, I won't say everyone, but like a lot of his books have the like massive cultural significance and staying power too. Like, I mean, people are buying this again. Like, people are buying these things, and especially with American Psycho, where what happened post 2020, you basically became like a psycho in your apartment the whole time if you followed the rules, which
Right.
Patrick Bateman is following the rules the entire time. He is all about optics. He is worried when he pays for meals that they don't cost like they're not expensive enough. So he's like, "Oh, I picked up the check and now they think I'm a cheapskate because I paid a $273 meal, rather than the 400 one that McDermott picked up the other night." And he's playing by the rules, these arbitrary rules, but rules nonetheless. And if you did that in like 2020, you became just a person that stayed in their apartment all day, did nothing but like analyze gear, order stuff to your house, spend beyond your means or whatever. I mean, I don't know. Bateman's not doing that, but like you're spending like it doesn't matter, kind of like in this like time caps, kind of this time warp thing. And you're online interacting with people and like yelling and just basically blogging your thoughts online or on front of a microphone like this, that's why when you pick this up, you're kind of like, damn, man, if I didn't leave my house for a fucking week or something and like everything was shut, and I remember people lost some of their etiquette, or some people lost some like hygiene during times, during those times. And you think of the time where Patrick Bateman's like, my apartment's unusable right now because of the rotten fruit smell, which I now realize is Cynthia's head. And like there's just like these people, like the Patrick Bateman type of like the person who's following the rules all the time, except in their mind, is absolutely present and hype, and even more so now, in my opinion.
You see all these spurgs on the internet, but you were seeing them in real life too.
Yeah.
Whenever, like, I think majority of outside society has kind of, at least anywhere I'm at, like people have kind of been put in check enough that
Sure.
we got that shit balanced back out. But I remember, because I was working all through, I was never confined to anywhere during the the 2019 to 22, whatever it was. I was out working. It was like, this construction, bitch, like the world shut down, we got to get these
Right.
buildings opened up. But I would go into like open stores that I was remodeling or delivering something to, and there'd be people like shaking, coming up to me like, Why aren't you wearing a mask?" And I was like, "Bitch, have you
Yeah.
not been punched in the face enough in your life? Like,
Yeah.
get your finger out of my face."
If you were scared, you wouldn't come close to me, by the way. Like if you were actually
Yeah,
scared, you just
right.
want to be annoying.
But,
Like,
like,
so
there was a window where people were like, their psychosis broke to the point where what they would type, aggressively from a keyboard, they were actually coming out in real life and trying to get in people's grill about. And I'm like, hold up, motherfucker.
yeah, and you and it made you and rather than, in the late 1980s, any thought that you had to still implement it into like an action, like a physical action in person. Whereas if you had these evil thoughts about people on like spring break or something, like, oh, they're spreading germs everywhere, you could just find those person's employers and call them. So like your
Mm,
sociopathic thought was a lot easier to put into action
right.
than Patrick Bateman's were back then, like in that time. It makes it easier to be a psycho, in my opinion, now.
Yeah. And if they had the choice, they would want to go with like an Uzi and just spray the beach down.
Yeah, go to a mega church, like super libs will be like, I'll go to a mega church and just, like do some crazy thing like that. Like, I mean, if you go to Blue Sky right now, that's what they're doing on like Blue Sky. Like they're saying crazy stuff on there, like crazy violent things. It's
I
wild.
got into I stalked a couple of people who we were beefing with a little while back and was like, what are they saying on their gay little platforms they like to use? And it is absolutely
Yeah.
psychotic. And they're always screenshotting us
Mhm.
owning them on X and being like, look at these racists. Like, yeah, look at where we really put you in your place and you look like a dork. Okay.
Exactly. Exactly. Like it's that Patrick Bateman mentality of just like, I won because I didn't give up. I won and all of this stuff. And it's like, dude, the person that you're hyper fixated on it doesn't know you exist. And they're like, they know that you're a thing. You're like occupying a chair right there. And if you weren't there, they'd be like, hey, where'd that guy go? But they'd say a name that's not yours or something. Like you don't exist like to
Yeah.
them. And that's the fun of the book, man. I mean, that's the fun of it. So yeah, I mean, I will say this: if you are somebody who's like, well, I've seen the movie like 10 times, like, what's the book? Trust me, the book is pick it up. Yeah, pick it up. It's worth it.
My opinion always grows on the movie. Like,
Mhm.
I remember back in the day, I'd watch it here and there and be like, it was a heavily rented movie, heavily played
Sure.
movie on cable and stuff. And so, you'd either see parts of it all the time or you'd
Mhm.
rent it a few times. And I was like, yeah, it's a good movie. And then a few years ago, I just randomly watched it again and was like, "Yeah, this movie slaps. This is a great movie."
It's great.
Watching it again, even after reading the book, I was like, "This movie's fucking incredible."
It's so good.
But you gotta read the book. Like, the book is the
Mhm.
experience for sure.
It almost feels like a novelization at times, like where it's like they're like it almost feels like the order was reversed, like it was a movie that became a book. Like, because you're like, oh, they did take a lot of the stuff that you need to put in here, and then they make their allusions to things that they can't show, like when he has the spinning the lock of blonde hair as he's like
Mm.
sitting in the office, like just to let you know, like, hey, something went down, don't worry. And there's like, but yeah, this is well worth picking it up. You can read it in like 2 or 3 days. Like truly, it's 400 pages, but like you'll become addicted to it. You'll
Yeah.
want, it's like it's like you're doing a deep dive onto something like that, and you'll be laughing your ass off. There's just certain replies that he has, or certain internal thoughts to something someone says that you don't exactly get in the movie, that those are really funny. And yeah, like with the movie, I've seen it so many times. I remember Bret Easton Ellis. I couldn't remember if it was the director or the screenwriter. I think it was the director, Mary Herron, and I could be wrong. It's either the director or the screenwriter, and it's a woman directed movie, and she came on and she was talking about, like, she tried to find some angle, which is so funny how she can adapt it so well, but she found some angle about how it's like commenting on like toxic masculinity.
Mhm.
And he's nice in the interview. He goes, oh yeah, is that what you saw out of it? Like, because he's like, it's not. I mean, but like that's not what's happening. Like, I mean, I guess technically you could say, if you believe what's happening in the book to be true, or just the fact that his thoughts, like, yeah, maybe that is a toxic male trait that you want to saw women's heads off, but I don't know if that's worth
There's
telling a story about, if that's all you're doing.
there's not a lot that it has to say about masculinity,
No.
honestly.
He doesn't even
Uh,
know what masculinity is.
no.
Like, yeah, like he literally does not. He doesn't know what anything is other than what he consumes.
If
Like,
American Psycho is any sort of commentary on masculinity, it's like, this is literally the problem with fatherless children.
true.
This is a guy whose father is dead and who is probably distant the majority of his
Yeah,
life,
yeah.
and this is what he's left with. Like, this is
Yes.
what he thinks the world is. He has no fucking center of gravity.
Yeah, and also just the fact that he's just such a nobody, and he could disappear for a month. I think he like does. I think they go to the Hamptons or something, and he's like still torturing animals, even though he's supposed to be on a getaway with
Was it in
Evelyn.
like Aspen?
I
Or
think it's Aspen. Yeah, that's right. And he's like still like they're like, you could use our cabin in Aspen. Like, oh, this would be such a great getaway. And he's like, anyways, I bought some mice to torture and like some cat and like a cat and stuff. He's like, yeah, we're getting away. We're having fun. And it's just funny how he kind of throws you off the trail when you think you have a read on the book, other than this is funny as fuck. This is hilarious. I love it. I could read 1,000 pages of it and I wouldn't get sick of it. And yeah, I mean, Bret Easton Ellis will always be an all-time great to me. And I think our next one's Lunar Park after this. I don't know.
Is it Lunar Park next?
I can't remember.
Or Glamorama? I can't remember.
Oh, it's Glamorama. Of course, it's Glamorama. Yeah, absolutely. That's that one I think will have potential to be my favorite, because I think it has like the Thomas Pynchon like absurdist espionage conspiracy stuff to it that I think I'm going to really like. I know that book people are torn on that one. Like whether people like, I think people who love it are like, this is his best. And if you don't like it, you're like, it's unreadable. So I'm excited about that one.
Hell yeah. I'm hyped because it's the one I'm least familiar with. Like,
yeah, that's right. Glamorama. That's right. Yeah, I completely forgot about that, because then it's Lunar Park after that. And it's like, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited because there's the lore of Glamorama where there's the Kip Pardue movie where he's just having sex the whole time. And I think it's like directed by Roger Avery, who did the Rules of Attraction thing, but it just never came out. Like, that sounds like some shit that he would have. It's just never gonna happen. I don't know if I have that correct of who directed it, but I thought it was supposed to be Roger.
How
Avery.
Unfortunate too, because Kip Pardue is like the perfect Bret Easton Ellis star.
I mean, he's great in was it Rules of Attraction, right? He's in that.
Yeah,
he's great. American Psycho is an awesome adaptation. I think Rules of Attraction is a even tougher thing to adapt the way they did it. And I was like, those two movies are better than the Less Than Zero movie, which I think gets more acclaim nowadays. American Psycho gets a lot of acclaim, but the Rules of Attraction one is really, really good. I mean, that movie is like, I was kind of surprised because they do a lot of different things, but the tone that Ellis has is all in there, and that's all that matters when you adapt a book. Is like,
it feels like it could have been directed by Ellis.
It definitely does. No, it definitely does. So yeah, guys, coming up on Gain of Fiction, we have what's after this? I think it's going to be Sharp Objects. This is a free episode, by the way. Enjoy it, guys. Enjoy it. This is a free episode. If you want to hear over 60 other volumes of Gain of Fiction, you can go to rarecandy.substack.com and sign up for the premium feed. It's well worth your time. You'll definitely find a good reading list there, basically, and companion pieces to it all. But I'm doing something big on Gravity's Rainbow coming up. Also there, I have so many in the backlog right now. Oh yeah, David and I did Eaters of the Dead with the Michael Crichton novel. That'll be coming up relatively soon. We've also covered almost all of Michel Houellebecq's catalog in reverse. And so we're working our way up. Platform will be the next installment there. And then it's Southern Gothic month in August that we will be doing William Faulkner's As I Lay Dying and Flannery O'Connor's Wise Blood. So on that note, guys, everybody have a safe week. Listen to Agitator, by the way. Listen to Agitator. By God's Fair No Better. Be on the lookout for Texas Tea. But where do you guys? It's Amazon is the best way, or for your guys' books.
You can find them on Amazon. Yeah.
You beef with them. You beef with Amazon though.
I do. They owe me like thousands of dollars.
What?
Yeah.
That's right. You did tell me about that. I mean, that's nothing for Bezos, man.
I know. It's like literally just give me my money, but
damn.
Whatever. You can find them. It's through that I figured out a way. I'll get the money from it, now.
Okay.
But
you guys have your own site too. I can't remember what you guys. It's like
I sell on kelbylosak.bigcartel.com.
Nice.
David, he made like 4 websites at a time, which is smart. I told him, you all need websites. But now I can't remember which one. RonanTrash.bigcartel.com.
Yeah,
I think, or maybe it's RonanTrash.com.
Yeah, so
buy
guys,
it on Amazon, I guess.
yeah, make sure you guys get that, support them. They've both been a very, very critical part of this particular series as well as our show in general. So that's all I got, guys. Everybody have a safe week, and we'll catch you guys next time.